Yep, this week's looks interesting. The stock market is dying. It is absolutely capitulating. Really strong sell-off here, and we've got the strength coming back into the dollar. Let's see what this week brings. My name is Dima and welcome to the Sunday market outlook. As usual, looking at the highest probability setup for this week. I've got a selection for this week. We are entering into the next phase and a new month this week. Let's bear that in mind. Let's look at the economic calendar and then go from there as usual. What is the calendar showing this week? Well, we've got this week, the major ones to bear in mind are, as you can see here, starting today, Sunday, we have daylight saving time shifts. So if you are in any of these regions, countries, bear that in mind for your charts. Then on Monday, we have some minor euro news. Tuesday, we get into some major news on yen from the Bank of Japan, major news policy. And then we've got some minor euro news, some CAD news, and we've got some New Zealand news as well. The dollar ones are a bit more minor, and the Bank of New Zealand governor speech there as well. So there's New Zealand here. We've got CAD. Major one is the yen. Going into Wednesday, speech from the chairman, Swiss chairman there. Then some more dollar news and a big one on Wednesday, FOMC and a rate statement as well. So this will be the big one for the week on Wednesday, which is the first of the new month, November. And typically, if you've been with me last month, you will know that a new month creates a little bit more uncertain situations, a little bit of volatility. And you may want to just a word of caution there on that one, basically. Thursday, we have monetary policy on the pound. So pound one is one to watch, and bank rate. What else we've got? Got CPI on the Swiss there, and then ending the week Friday with NFP because it is a new month. So another big one. It's quite a busy week. We've got the main dollar ones in summary. So NFP, FOMC, we've got pound rate, we've got yen rate, and then we have some other currencies to watch for. New Zealand, euro is not so featuring so heavily. New Zealand, Swiss as well. Could be a busy week. Let's have a look at the charts and see what lines up, if anything. Right, here we are. This is what I've got for this week. And let's begin. Okay, dollar as usual for the week, ending with this pin bar, creating more bullishness back into the upside. And this is what we've got. This is what we looked at. And we looked at this break and continuation. And it seems that we are having this continuation to the upside. And here's our first target at this high. And then the next high over here. That's what we looked at last week. Going to continue much of this week. Will look similar. Will look very familiar to last week, which is great. We're just following along with what the charts are saying, and got a couple of other ones. So we'll go through that in a bit. For now, as you can see, we have the next pullback developing here on the dollar and continuing higher. Watching out again this week, we've got some major news. Can't get any bigger than NFP and FOMC rates. So watch out for that. And these are still the scenarios to look for. I still have this area. Let's see if it holds. If not, we have the next area down on the dollar. But overall, the bias is to the buy side. Okay, next we're going to look at pound dollar again, as we did last week. And pound dollar, as you can see, just engulfed the previous week and continued on its way down off this level. Let's have a look again. Here it is. And we look for that continuation on this area here. We invalidated it. And then what happened? Well, we've got this pin bar and a possible reversal. Now, what is next? Well, the next thing we want to see is continuation to the downside because we still haven't hit these lows. And what have we got? How are we going to look at this? Well, let's just remove our previous markings. We no longer need that. The way we're going to look at this is, now that we've hit this invalidation, we want to see some more downside confirmation, pullback, and then coming back down. Now, the confirmation for now will be a break of this previous structure. So watch out for that. Let's see if that happens. And the invalidation will be at the next high. So we're just adapting to what the market is showing at the moment. And if we invalidate it, then we have this next level, or a zone, whichever way you like to call it, whatever terminology you use, as the point to look at, as the reference area. So this is the idea. And the downside is still prevailing until we see otherwise, until we see a very, very clear break. Will be obviously have to be of this structure and this structure, and then we may reassess. Expecting the dollar news and also pound news this week to create some kind of action within the pound dollar, obviously. So news on both the pound and the dollar for this week. So pound dollar will be one to watch for. Keep your eyes on those days and the volatility on those times. Okay, that is the idea on pound dollar. Dollar CAD, what have we got? Well, we've got similar thing to last week. We've got that continuation to the upside. Let's have a look on the weekly. We've reached this target. The next target will be the last obvious, that high up here. And now that we see on the weekly, we had very, very bullish price action. The next thing we want to see, well, of course, is a pulling back to a better price. And here's that zone. Here's the invalidation point looked at. Look at the lower time frame. We did not go into this level. This is what we were watching for. And indeed, the market has moved higher and higher. So the next thing to look for is a variation alternative scenario. Next level we see, the next obvious level is here. However, going to bear in mind the fact that we do have volatility. We also have CAD news, obviously the dollar news, as I'm going to say it again. So it's not going to be a surprise if we actually spike through these lows and actually hit this level during the week. And if we do, then we'll be ready for this. Now the alternative would of course be like so. So moving higher and higher. Let's see if we have an actual break, a clear break and a clear continuation of the high from last week. And then we'll wait for pullbacks, but at the moment we're still going to consider these as the week opens, and let's see how it actually plays out. We're going to leave the invalidation at this low and then wait to see how the market plays out. If it runs higher and just runs into target where it just, that's what it does. We don't know what the market will do. We're just following it along and playing to the tune that it has for the week. So these are the scenarios marked out, and we have a clear idea of where we're going and what we plan. Okay, next one I'm going to look at is Euro Pound, another one we've been following along as always. And what do we have? Again, continuation bullish. We have brief bullishness last week as well, although it was a bit ranging. We did not clear the high of last week, came back down. It's a kind of inside bar. And now let's see, where do we go from here? Well, what do we see on the daily? Well, we have this ranging momentum. We had our invalidation point set. And now, are we going to continue to hold this level and move higher? Are we going to head lower? Or are we going to continue ranging? Now, the thing with this is that we do have major pound news and we are in a range. Now that we're stuck in a range, expecting the news to hit, we really want to see where the news takes us. Let's have a look on the lower time frame. Maybe we'll get a bit more clarity. Okay. Now, we've got our level here that was marked out, which we cleared, went through. We've got now brief retracement. It looks like we're coming into this zone again, this area that we're interested in. And if we do, then this will be the idea. If, on the other hand, we invalidate this low right here. Then we'll have to sit aside and wait to see what will happen. We also have this little bit of a trend line going here. So the idea is we should hold this low. Well, not should, we may do. And if we do, and we continue higher, we get some price action, then the next high would be the target. As you can see, we marked it out to the left over here. And the next target's after that. However, there is also a potential for the market to spike lower, give us another swing low on the higher time frame, which is the daily, because on the daily we're still kind of ranging. And therefore, with the rate news, let's see if we do head higher or we move lower before the move up. Either way, we're going to anticipate and not expect, but prepare for the bullish scenario and bullish continuation. For now, these levels are holding. Let's see if they continue to do so. The next break would be right here. So I'm going to wait and see if that happens. A clear break of structure. And once that is broken, hits the target, comes back, we get a better price, and then we continue to the upside. And that will be the plan. I'll have to wait and see. At the moment, what you can really tell here is that we are having this choppy range bound behavior. Therefore, a lower price would be much more favorable. And in this kind of range, in this kind of choppy, uncertain market, when it's preparing for news, we want to see something really, really clean and really clear. Either way, this is why we are bullish, because of this clear price action to the upside. And now we wait and see how it unfolds, and then it may be worthwhile to wait until after the news, maybe even until next week. As always, first week of the month is a tricky one. Let's go to Euro New Zealand next. And what is Euro New Zealand showing? Well, what we have is, let's just get rid of this so it's clear for you. Bullish structure, bullishness, breaking all these structures. Last week it closed as a doji candle, uncertainty. However, we are still bullish. No sign of reversal here. Nothing to show that we are heading down. Therefore, this idea would be a continuation idea. And let's put all of this back up. We broke through this level here, so we can now remove that. I'm gonna look to head into the next levels. And what would that look like? Well, again, Euro New Zealand seems to be ranging at the moment. We are in a bullish scenario. We do have our invalidation from last week, which is the obvious low here on the daily. Let's look on the lower time frame. And on the lower time frame, we had this area marked out, and we indeed did have a reaction of that. Therefore, what does that mean? Well, we still have the invalidation point. We have our level, which was hit. And now let's look at the next possible level. So on the lower time frame, you can see this level developed. And that means that we have an idea like this. So if we come into this level and then continue to the upside, or the alternative would be a break continuing higher. And of course, if we go below this level, then we'll have to invalidate this setup, and then what we're going to look at is an alternative scenario if we actually get down here. Now, the first idea would be, or the first sign I should say, this will be the first invalidation. Again, that the market, what the market tends to do is to sometimes come back down one more time and then stop people out and then continue to its intended direction. Now, so it may be possible that we get another hit. As you may have seen from previous videos, we do get that one hit. So for example, here there was a low and it didn't move straight away. We came down, hit it one more time, and then moved away. So this will be the invalidation point, and this will be the second major invalidation point, but this is the first point of reference for this idea. And if we head lower, then we will reassess what's happening here and see if we have a reversal. But at the moment, we don't know that and we don't see that. Therefore, we're holding on to this level, and the next one will be a break of this structure and then continuing to the upside. So it's really good to see this reaction clearing multiple structures to the left. Therefore, a continuation in the bullish price action, which is indicated by this candle of this day on Friday, is hinting, showing the sign that we are heading higher, continuing higher. Right then, that is Euro New Zealand. Let's move on to Euro CAD. Okay, let's reassess Euro CAD again, because we looked at it a couple of weeks ago, and what we looked at is these levels, we did not reach them. So let's remove all these previous markings. We had this channel that came down, and now it seems that we are in a swing to the upside. We had this reversal pin bar. Let's remove these, no longer necessary, and we can start again. Okay, what we can see is bullishness on the weekly chart. As this is a possible likely reversal, if we mark that as a low, we can see that we have had structures to the left being broken, and therefore we are now in a bullish scenario. What will be the next target? Well, the next target will be this high, and the next high after that. But of course, we want to see a better price first. Now, let's go to the daily. What does a better price look like? Well, let's adjust these for accuracy. Right, the better price, if we can mark our levels. Here's level, and here we will have our invalidation point. Let's go to the lower time frame, and we can see that we had this reaction. Therefore, a pullback to get a better price and then continue higher into the next levels would be the scenario for the week. That's what we're looking at. We have all these highs ready to be broken through, and yeah, that would be the high probability idea. Now, if we invalidate this low, of course, we will have to reassess, and this whole idea will be broken, go back to the high time frame, and then we'll reassess to see what levels we hold, and where we go from there. We may have to leave it alone if that is what the market is showing. Right. We are still, so far, at this moment in time, in this channel, and we have just breached the high of the channel. Therefore, two things to note here, which makes this a little bit different to the previous setups. The first is because we are at this point of contention, we don't know whether we'll continue or we will bounce away. In this bigger time frame, it means that there's perhaps less lower probability than the other ones. However, we may get another push higher, and let's see if we do. Now, that is assuming that all of this is a low, and this next swing is a low, and this is a low as well. For now, we're going to go with what we see, which is the upside with no sign of reversal just yet. And you can always see things on a higher time frame, always much easier to see the higher probability scenario if you actually want to wait and not take a risk on this one, is to clear these highs. So once this high is cleared, let's have a look on the weekly, which, sorry, there we are on the weekly. This high is cleared, then the upside is way more prominent, way higher probability. So looking at this swing and this higher time frame picture, if you look on the monthly, this higher time frame momentum kind of ranged, created this channel, and now we're looking to clear that channel and move higher. For this week, this would be the idea, and this low, and that makes up our Euro CAD. Okay, next one on the list is Aussie New Zealand, as we looked at last week. And last week we marked out this level, which we did not reach into. And the market just ran higher and higher. We are still bullish, having this low in mind as the low, always keeping in mind the higher time frame and the higher picture, because the higher time frame is king and really solidifies and indicates where we're actually going. So if you're unclear, go to the higher time frame. Now, we have not quite hit this high that we had as a reference point. We also have this high here, but they're very close together, which means that we're yet to go into it. What does that indicate? Well, we've got the continuation of bullishness. As you can see, we moved higher, created this low, moved higher, created this low, and this candle is now pushing higher still. Let's go to the lower time frame, and once again, what we can do is identify our next level, which will be here. So that will be our next level. We will then have our invalidation point as the low. I'm still going to leave this one here because we have not yet on the high time frame hit the zone, but at least in the short term, what we've got is this move higher, breaking these structures to the left, and therefore this will now be the invalidation, and this will be the area of higher probability, which means a pullback to get a better price and continuing into these targets would be the preferred scenario for higher probability entry idea. Now, if the market goes straight into these levels and touches these levels, we're going to ignore this. We're going to leave it alone because it will have already reached target, and then we have to reassess afterwards what happens. But if we do get a better price and then we go into the level, that is preferred because we haven't yet reached them. But of course, we really want to get a better price before doing that. Once we reach these levels, if we do, the idea then would be, what we'd really want to see is a clear daily closes above, break above, then pulling back to get a better price if and when we get there. But we'll have to reassess. We'll see throughout the week. So far, it's a bit too early to tell because we just haven't got there yet. So let's work with what we've got so far. We've got this low. There was a level here as well last week, but that is in hindsight. But no matter, we've got higher price, pulling back, and then continuing to the upside. This may be one to look at on a lower time frame if you prefer on the hourly to get a clearer picture. And then once we head off from this level and move higher, then this idea will come into play. Okay, looking back on the daily, you can see the bigger picture here. Very, very, very bullish momentum on this pair, Aussie New Zealand. Not one we look at usually because it is, well, not one we looked at all and or looked at ever so far because it is such a messy, tricky one. I should say quite slow as well. Really not, personally, I don't even like to look at it, but on this occasion, on a very, very rare occasion that we have had an interesting setup, it can be considered, but a chart is just a chart in the end. I mean, right, it could be just a chart of pizzas. Who knows? I mean, we're just trading what we see and what the market gives us. Right, last but not least, we have got the stock market, and wouldn't you know, hardly a surprise to us if you were here last week, it is absolutely dying. Really what looks to be a major slump, a major downfall of the indices. And last week was heavily bearish and a heavy sell-off. What more is there to say? You can clearly see that, and therefore you would expect that this week obviously by common sense we would continue with that idea. And why do we continue? Well, because we have not even reached these levels that we marked out. These were the target points and we are heading right into them. Let's have a look on the daily and see where we're at. Well, what we've got is the market had a brief pullback and then capitulated lower. And now that we've got that capitulation, the next area we're going to look for will be the obvious more expensive price point. And we still have our invalidation here. This was the idea, I believe, on the Thursday, on that Thursday video, and the market did not go there. We still have this high, and seeing as it did not go there, we are going to look for it to come back there into this level and then go from there. So this will still be the idea for the week, because we are very clearly bearish and very clearly continuing with the sell-off idea, and the market's completely, well, collapsing, quite frankly. There's no other word for it. This will be the invalidation. If we breach this high, no longer interested, we'll let the market tell us what it wants to do, if it will do it. And then we go from there as usual. Really the same things happening over and over and over and over again. It's a repetitive type of nature. We do the same things again, being consistent with the approach. These are the two targets. If we do not get this pullback like we last week, it doesn't always happen, then we'll have to reassess. And what we'd like to see is a clear breach of this level down here at this low to continue lower, but that is some time away. So break something like this. As you can see, that is quite a way away, but you never know. We do have, again, major news this week, and really they will be indicating to us where the market is going. Trading before that, I have to quite say, admittedly, will be a risky business, despite this being a high probability setup. So here's the outline. Again, here's the weekly. The invalidation is the high of last week. We want to see a better price, a more expensive price. The plan is marked out quite clearly. We may even reach into this initial target point before we retrace higher, and if that's the case, well, so be it. And then we'll looking to head even lower still. Let's just mark out the next reference points, which are quite obviously these lows. That's some distance away. However, because of this strong sell-off, market selling off hard, I will not discount, well, I should say not, probably the wrong word to use because using it too often. I will not put it past the market to go into these levels and drop even further, because it is so heavy and so weak at the moment. Either way, we've got our reference points marked out and we know where our next target points are. And that concludes this week's video. With the bullish dollar, we have the reverse correlation happening on indices. That is typically what happens, and so we are seeing it this week and currently in the last few weeks, and that is the sign of high probability as well. Bullishness on the dollar, bearishness on the indices, and that looks to continue, at least based on the current price action. So we go with that. All right, guys, that was your whole Sunday market outlook. Hopefully that was useful to you, and if you have any comments, click them down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, with the bell notification, you'll get it 3 times a week. The video is coming out, and you can continue trading with me together, and we will look at the scenarios. So manage your risk as always, choose your setups wisely, and make sure that they match what you have on the chart, and then make your own decisions. So these are ideas for you to look at. Please do make your own decisions and take responsibility for your trades and your setups. All right, I will see you in a few days, and again on Thursday, of course, for the update for the week. Okay, bye for now.